you are in control as a radio presenter.
Yeah.
You push the button to play that song. But on TV, your director is in control.
And telling you
they
how to-
tell you, you've got 30 seconds. And if you finished talking about whatever it is you were meant to say, and they say, buy me another 30 seconds, the next camera is not ready, you have to think on your feet.
Is that in
You wear it in ear.
No, really?
Yes.
That would, the amount of stress that I would deal with for that would just be insane. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Storytime Season 3. As you can see, we're in a new studio. Thank you, SofaWorks, for kitting us out in the new studio. We are very happy to be here today. We're here with Zoe Brown. Zoe, thank you so much for coming in.
It's great to be here. Very nice studio, by the way.
Thank you. SofaWorks. Yeah, sorry, we kept you waiting. We've been setting up. Everything going on is very new at the time of recording this. So you've literally watched us go through the entire process of setting up and the lights and the other lights being off and my excitement about it.
Oh, no, but you know what? This industry is all about hurry up and wait, so you kind of get used to it.
Yeah.
But I didn't mind at all.
Thank you. I appreciate your patience. And you've been in industry for a while. You've been doing it for a very long time, which is why I'm so stoked to have you come in, because people like yourself, I was saying earlier, yourself and Cole Wasty and others have become the face of radio for South Africa, which is so cool. So could you give background into why radio and how Zoe Brown became Zoe Brown that you are today?
Firstly, thank you for that massive compliment. I mean, I love working with Wasty. We have been such a cool on-air duo and even off-air. But I think I like to say I stumbled across radio by accident.
Okay.
It was never my plan to be in radio. It was never my plan to be on TV. It just kind of happened.
Yeah.
So how it all started was, my favorite movie is The Devil Wears Prada.
Really?
With Anne Hathaway and Meryl Streep. And it's all about this girl that saw the bigger picture but was willing to do the groundwork.
Yes.
And that's kind of how my radio career started out. I thought I was going to go into the magazine industry when I studied at Stellenbosch.
Really? In editing?
I thought I would end up at a glossy magazine working on the fashion pages.
Sick.
Basically, The Devil Wears Prada. I thought that would be my life. But then I didn't have access to anything, and I always knew I wanted to be in the media space. And on campus at Stellenbosch University, there was a radio station. So I was like, well, I can get my foot in that door by, finding out if they need an intern or, cleaning the office or bring them coffee, whatever they need, just so that I can sass out the area. And I remember it was second year at varsity. I had just moved out of res into a flat. And something said to me, well, if you want to work at the radio station, you must probably listen to it. And I turned on the radio station onto MFM, and they had this ad on looking for presenters. And I was like, it's meant to be. So I went down to the Nielsen, got myself an entry form, and they basically took everyone's CVs. And what I didn't know was, what MFM did at the time, and I'm pretty sure they still do it, is they take a group of young individuals and they upskill you. They train you. You go through a very vigorous process, and through the way people fall out, because it's quite a lot of hours you're investing. And then you get your first radio show, and mine was on a Monday from 3 a.m. till 6 a.m.
3 a.m. to 6 a.m. on a Monday.
On a Monday. So my week always started off with a very big bang, because you had to be at studio an hour before your show. So that meant I had to be at studio at 2 a.m. And I didn't have a car. So even though I didn't stay very far from campus, it wasn't safe enough for a girl alone to walk at 2 a.m. So I would phone campus security and be like, please can someone walk with me?
Sweet man.
Please can someone escort me?
Yeah.
I found out that it's part of your student fees, that service. And then the nice thing was, on a rainy day, they'll come pick you up in the car, but most mornings you had to walk.
Okay. So you're like, please rain, please rain, please rain.
Yeah. But I mean, those are the hard hours people don't see.
Yeah.
And I mean, I suppose you're supposed to be proud of the fact that you've got your own radio show, but I was a little embarrassed because it was 3 a.m. till 6 a.m.
I see.
I remember going home in Durban, and we had a Sunday lunch, and my best friend was there, and she still tried to make a little bit of a dig at me. She's like, oh, Zoe, who listens to you from 3 to 6 in the morning anyway? And my dad piped up and he was like, actually, I haven't missed one of her shows. So he would wake up in Durban,
He would wake up to listen.
stream my show. And yeah, that was amazing having his support.
Sweet, man.
Yeah, so it started for me at campus radio. I soon from there moved up to doing a permanent show. So that was Monday to Friday called The Hit List. So it was all about music.
Okay.
And it was every weeknight from 9 p.m. till midnight. Now,
which is a lot more people listening at that time.
That's the one end of looking at it. The other end was, as a student, that's social suicide. I mean, you can't go out before your radio show because you have to be there at 8 o'clock. It's very difficult to go out at midnight because your friends are on a different frequency as you.
Yeah. You're playing catch up.
You can't play catch up at that time of night.
It's impossible, especially in Stellenbosch.
No.
It's impossible to catch up in Stellenbosch.
So that was quite difficult. I mean, I did that for a whole year. I sacrificed because you didn't have leave, so I didn't have much time to go home to Durban.
Yeah.
And then by the end of that year was also my undergrad. So I graduated that December and I completely hit a panic because I never thought of what's next. I was just so focused on trying to survive every single day that I didn't think, what am I going to do now that I've got a degree behind my name? And I remember going home that December, January break. And I say to my dad, like, I think I want to take a gap year, another one. I took one before going to go study. I want to take another one. And for our family, it's quite a big thing. Not many people have had opportunities to study. So the fact that my dad managed to do that, despite their financial difficulty, he got me through 3 years at Stellenbosch without a student loan. It was quite a big thing that I got my degree.
Yeah.
And I said to him, no, I'm going to be an air hostess. I want to go to Dubai. I want to work for Emirates.
Okay.
I want to be one of those girls that just travel the world and it just looks like so much fun for 2 years.
Yes.
And I don't know, how well's your Afrikaans?
Good.
Okay. The only thing he said to me was, wil jy regtig 'n bediende in die lug gaan wees met 'n graad agter jou naam? And at first I listened to that, I'm like, how can you say that?
Yeah.
But understanding the context of how hard my dad had worked to get me through 3 years of university, how little opportunity they had to go study at Stellenbosch University, me being the first one in my nuclear family to go to university, I think for him it was, for them it was a big thing. And they didn't understand why would I want to go be an air hostess. They didn't see the travel and the freedom that I saw, but they were just like, it doesn't make sense to them.
That's another element that potentially wasn't available when they were at that age as well.
Probably.
You know, the chance to just up and go see the whole world and everything will be okay.
And taking a gap year.
Exactly, it was like regimented back then, right? Yeah.
No. But I mean, it's so interesting how times changed because I studied international relations. And the funny thing was, I was on my gap year when I told my mom, listen, I've registered at Stellenbosch University. I'm going to take my shot and see if I can get in, and I'm going to go do international relations. And she was like, what do you become after you do international relations?
Yeah.
And I was like, you don't become anything. And she couldn't wrap her mind around, why would you go study for 3 years and not become anything?
And not have that title. Yeah. Yeah.
Because in her mind, you do teaching, you become a teacher. You do medicine, you become a doctor. You do accounting, you become an accountant.
Yes.
And so I said to her, well, I'm preparing myself for something that doesn't exist yet. The degree is going to prepare me for something that I feel like doesn't exist yet.
Yeah.
And that's what I said to her in 2010. And so, of course, for me, it was a surprise to end up in the media space.
Yeah.
But if you also look at brands or platforms like Uber and you know, all these different things, that didn't exist in 2010, at least not in South Africa. So yeah, I've always kind of said to her, I'm just going to approach this degree and anything that comes with it by preparing myself for something that doesn't exist yet.
Yeah, and you can see across your socials as well, like your marketing is so good with like every brand that you work with, your videos and all the different photos and shots you get. It's so well packaged. I was going through it this afternoon, and I think I said to Jess as well, I was going through your profile and I was like, I need to do a better job of this. Like, shout out to all our sponsors. Thank you for still loving me. But like, it's you're really good at that. And so immediately my mind went to, oh, she definitely knows media and marketing. And international relations and how much you're doing for these brands, pulling them in and then marketing them to the right people, everything kind of ties perfectly together, it seems.
It definitely, I think that degree has given you a broader sense of the world. I think we all get so consumed with the our inner circle. We forget that there's more to play.
And opinions and cultures.
So I really enjoyed that aspect. But yeah, the radio journey was an interesting one because that's the only job I've ever known since leaving university in terms of I'm still at radio. I'm still at KFM.
Which is a huge accomplishment as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, to still be doing it.
To still be a
and
radio.
every year just getting better. We interrupt this episode to thank our sponsor, Truth Coffee Roasting. Truth Coffee Roasting have put the effort in to source beans from around the world to bring you exclusive, high, premium coffee flavors that are not just a caffeine fix. They keep me going, they keep the team at Storytime going, and now they can keep you going too. Use your exclusive Storytime code and get 10% off all premium coffees. Thank you, Truth. At Storytime, we would like to thank our sponsor, Manscaped. Not only are they the best in the grooming game, they are now available in South Africa through Storytime. I've had the Lawnmower 3.0 for 2.5 years. I've never used anything else because I don't need it. They've now released the 4.0 Lawnmower, alongside a whole bunch of other product as well. If you order yours in using the code BLAMEJOSH, you'll get your exclusive packages and products from Manscaped shipped into South Africa at 20% off and free shipping. That's a brand new razor by Manscaped for under 1,000 Rand. If it's good enough for the UFC, it's sure as hell good enough for me and good enough for you too. Thank you, Manscaped. So you finished your degree, went to Pops, and you were like, I'm taking this gap. Did it become a yay or a nay to take it?
Shame. I listened to his comment hit me hard.
Yeah, as it would anyone.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so he asked me, why do I want to take a gap year? And because finances were tight, I said to him, because you've just paid for 3 years, I can't expect you to pay for a 4th year just because I'm not sure what I want to do. And I'm not ready to just go into any job for the sake of working now that I'm done studying.
Yeah.
So he said, well, he's my dad. He'll take care of it. If I want to study another year, I need to do it. Okay. So I did my honors in international relations, and I promised my dad I'll be a normal student. I won't do radio. I'll take a step back.
Okay.
And I just didn't have the guts to tell the radio station I don't want to work there anymore. So I compromised and said I'll do 1 show a week. So they gave me a Saturday. I think it was the top 40 show. I can't remember the hours. I think it was 10 a.m. till 2 p.m. So that still cuts your weekend if you want to do a weekend away from the Friday.
10 a.m. to 2
2 p.m.
Okay.
Still cuts your weekend.
It does.
And so I did that, and I remember going to my first varsity college game and standing in line, get this phone call from a number I don't know. For some reason I answered, and it was the KFM programming manager saying he's been hopping around on various campus radio stations. He liked my sound. He would love for me to come in for a meeting.
Yeah.
And that is kind of how I got my foot in the door at KFM.
Sick.
But guess what my time slot was?
Was it a 3 to 6 again?
It was worse. It was midnight to 4 a.m. on a
4
Saturday
hours.
and a Sunday.
So you have to keep radio going for 4 hours.
Well, remember, it's a music station, so you don't. The first half hour is songs.
But you also still like picking and choosing song, right? Kind of filtering through the 4 hours.
Yeah.
Saturday and Sunday.
Saturday
Nice.
and Sunday, and I still lived in Stellenbosch. I still studied. I didn't have a car, so I would take the last safest train out of Stellies. I would bum lifts off friends. I slept on so many couches in the building and on friends' couches, just because that was before Uber was a thing.
Yeah.
So it's not like I could just Uber from Frederhoek to Greenpoint. You had to really plan your route.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how long were you doing the Saturday, Sunday 4 hour for KFM?
I feel like I was the longest presenter doing that slot.
Really?
I did it for 8 months.
Every weekend?
Every weekend. It was about 6 months in when my dad managed to scrape enough sense together to buy me my first little car.
Cool, man.
And my mom now drives that little car.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like this episode's dedicated to your dad. Shout out to your dad. What a
Yeah,
legend.
he is
What a
such
legend.
an incredible guy. I mean, to give you a bit of our family dynamics, we grew up in Cape Town. Life was good. Dad earned well. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. We moved to Durban for my dad's job, and things didn't go as planned. And he had to break away from what he had always known to starting his own business.
Yeah.
He had 3 kids in school. He had a wife at home. We had just bought a new house, so he just had to make it work.
Yeah.
And I suppose from a young age, I always said to myself, I remember it was financially very tough for my parents when I was in high school. And they don't like to talk about it, and they don't like it when I talk about it, but
Yeah.
I have to. I can't allow that to be my demon.
Yeah.
I just remember, I think I was about 16. I just remember feeling so hurt, and you feel vulnerable in that situation because your parents are trying to shield you from the financial woes that they have.
Yeah.
But as a 16-year-old, you know things are not good at home.
Yeah.
And there's just that added pressure because you don't really know how bad it really is.
Yeah.
And I just remember promising to myself, I will work as hard as I have to make sure I never ever feel that feeling again.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I've been doing. Like, that's why it was easy for me to do midnight to 4 for 8 months and do the 3 till 6 radio station, because that's the promise I made to myself.
Yeah. It's interesting that you say that. 2 things. I get emotional you talking about that because my family had a dip as well. And also, don't talk about it. Not that it's like, they like, don't ever bring it up again. It's just, it's a really uncomfortable space to be in. Not that I ever felt it. Like, looking back, I don't ever recall being aware that things were different. But I can remember my mom and dad being stressed, and I can remember seeing them stressing. So my promise to myself was very similar to yours, but mine was, work as hard as I can to develop things so that if my family ever needs saving, I can do it, that we don't have to do that again. And university as well. I was the first person in my family to get the chance to go to university, and I always wanted to act. That was like my thing, which at 12 years old is like cute. What do you want to be? I want to be an actor. It's like, oh, cool. At 16, what do you want to be? I want to be an actor. Oh, cool. At 18, what do you want to be? I want to be an actor. No, but what else do you want to be? Like what are the other? And that's kind of what it came down to, was this crazy idea that, thank the Lord, it's blessing. It kind of worked out, and went to university, did my first year, did my first film at the end of the year, and wrapped that up and was like, I've done it. I said I was going to act, now I'm an actor. So I dropped out of university and went to the head of the university and said, listen, I'm going into acting. Sorry, I'm going to take a gap year. If it doesn't work out, I'll come back. But otherwise, I'm going to go act. Didn't book a single thing for a year. Not a commercial, not a photo shoot, not a movie, not a one-liner, not an extra, nothing. And got to the end of that year and was like, okay, go back and get your degree. Now you know what it feels like to not have the blessing of parents giving you a degree. You've done it for a year, you know how hard it is, go back and get it. And I truly think that nothing happened in that year because I didn't honor my agreement. I didn't honor my agreement with my parents saying, you've worked hard enough to pay for it, so I'll honor it and actually get the degree. And I kind of went against that, and that's just always been my theory about it. But it's interesting you bring that up, it's so cool. So you get scouted by KFM, which is a huge deal. You didn't, you'd found everything else yourself. I can imagine there was such a sense of relief that, like, this career is growing.
It was quite, I was torn. I was really torn between, do I do this and then end up back in that same position I promised myself I didn't want to be in?
Yeah.
Or do I say yes to this and just see where it goes? Because to give you the facts I told myself. So at the time in Stellenbosch, MFM's listenership was about 35,000 audience, big audience-wise, and then KFM had 1 million
Wow.
listeners. So that's just the jump. And I was like, oh, if I can just get my foot in there, you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So I did that at the end of my post-grad. They asked me to start standing in a little bit more. At the time, Rob Vember was one of the afternoon drive show, so I was his traffic girl for a few months.
Yes, I remember that.
And so I was working with Rob Vember, and I was the traffic girl on his show. And my mom still asked me the one day, it's quite similar to your story, where she was like, so when are you going to get a proper job?
Yeah.
And I was like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
She's like, well, isn't radio like play? Like, you just play music. And I was like, well, I am being paid for it. I haven't asked your dad for any money in terms of paying my rent, my food, I haven't asked for any money, so I can stand on my own. I'm standing on my own 2 feet.
Yeah.
And so I threw out this promise to her. I was like, I promise you, give me 6 months, and if it doesn't work, I'll get a proper job. And I don't know why I gave myself 6 months, but has it ever happened where you do something and then people plant the seed in your head, be like, what have you thought of that?
Yes.
So I was doing radio, and then people started planting the seed. Well, have you thought of TV? So I was like, okay, maybe I should give TV a try. And I did a TV presenting course.
Yeah.
And I graduated that December, my first day on Expresso, through this TV presenter search competition, where I won my role on Expresso. Was the 1st of June, which is exactly 6 months. I told my mom I'm giving myself 6 months.
Exactly 6 months.
It was exactly 6 months. For me, that was such a wake-up aha moment. I'm like, you know what? If you actually put your mind to something, and it can happen.
Yeah.
It can happen. So I gave myself 6 months. That's how I ended up on Expresso, and that's kind of where I'm still at.
That's so sick.
Doing both radio and TV with a lot of growth in between.
Yeah.
But it wasn't an easy journey. So people just see, oh, you're on Expresso. They forget I did campus radio. They forgot I did midnight to 4. They didn't realize I didn't have a car. I had to take the train and sit next to the mamas because it was the safest. You know, you become street smart the minute you put in those positions.
Which then also influences the job you do, right? Because ultimately what you're becoming is a voice for people across radio and across TV. And these people now need to listen to you and resonate with what it is that you're saying. And all those experiences and years of hard graft kind of puts you in a position where people are like, I also know what it's like to work hard or to want something or to aim for something, you know? When you took the jump into TV, what was the contrast between the two? Like, what did you find yourself having to learn? Because I find radio fascinating. So obviously I have a lot of questions on that because it's so similar to podcasting in some ways.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of questions on there. but you moving into Expresso from radio, I imagine the jump must have been so big.
I was quite overwhelmed with everything because now you're on a set. There are cameras. There are people behind those cameras. There's a lot of moving parts. Whereas at a radio station, generally, if you're doing the show by yourself, it's just you and the microphone. No one else bugs you. You sit in your little fishbowl. People look in. You do your thing. You are prepped. You are in control as a radio presenter.
Yeah.
You push the button to play that song. But on TV, your director is in control.
And telling
they
you
tell you, you've got 30 seconds. And if you finished talking about whatever it is you were meant to say, and they say, buy me another 30 seconds, the next camera is not ready, you have to think on your feet.
Is that in ear?
You wear it in ear.
No, really?
Yes.
That would the amount of stress that I would deal with for that would just be insane.
I've actually developed this really bad habit because you hear everything, like standby camera 4, camera 4. Standby camera 3, camera 3. Not all the time, but when they'll latch you, so the cameraman will hear all the standby cut. We will get instructions, like they'll be like, Zoe, your hair's on your microphone. And while you're in a conversation, you have to. Or
we have to try that. Yeah. We have to try that on the show.
But the bad habit I've picked up is because there's so much going on. So even when you're not on camera, you still hear what everything else is happening in terms of who is live on camera and what the director is saying to them.
Yeah.
You learn to block it out. So they know in order to cue you, they'll be like, Zoe, do X, Y, Z. Then you know. So now I've picked up this habit where I'm in studio at radio and Wasty will be having a fat chat and I'm thinking he's chatting to the producer. And he's like, Zoe, are you listening? I'm like, I didn't realize you were talking to me. Like, I just zone out.
You're so focused on everything around you.
I can block it out. I can block it out. Unless you say my name, then I'll pay attention. But
wow.
if you just randomly start talking, I'll assume it's not to me.
Really? I don't know if I could. I'd never thought of it like that. So while you're on camera for Espresso, there's someone in your ear being like, buy another 20. And then do you have like a go-to for that kind of thing?
I suppose that's where you kind of fluff a little bit, or where you tend to make mistakes. Your audience will never know your producer whoever just put you on the spot to ask for an extra minute, or they have technical difficulties, whatever it is. The show needs to go on in that regard. But a go-to is always to recap what you just spoke about, give people options for more information, so going to social media or the website or reiterating something that happened on the show, trying to tie that in. But it also helps to be aware of what's happening on the show, to be aware of who are the guests that you are expecting, because then that's a backup plan. It's like, okay, they're asking for 30 seconds, so I can throw forward to, hey, stay tuned, we've got so-and-so performing.
That's cool.
That you're just empowering yourself by being aware of what the show's about and not just focusing on what you are scheduled to do.
Is it set dialogue that you've got to learn beforehand? Or do they tell you for 10 minutes this, then this guest, then is it?
So we get emailed draft documents and then you get your final, and it's called the Bible because everything you need is in there.
Okay.
So every day you get your Bible and you get a text script. So the text script tells you the running order of things. It tells you what time, where, and who is in charge of that interview and who your guest is. So all the information you need is in that tech runner, your text script. And then in the Bible, so for example, in the text script, it will have a number 15 and it will say interview with Joshua. Then I know in my Bible, I need to go to number 15 and there will be the interview prepared for me. But you don't have time to memorize everything. So
because it's so fast.
Yeah,
so
and
constant,
we're not scripted. So you'll read the information and do what you're doing now. You have a conversation with the person and try and get the essence of what the brief is across on camera.
My word. So
we sit there with our iPads because you know how often I've hit a blank.
Oh, that would happen every day for me.
You hit a blank and then that's just a backup.
And pre-recorded?
Some interviews do get pre-recorded.
Otherwise live?
We are pretty much live. I would say 90% of everything is live. You know, on the one hand, it can be stressful. On the other hand, the energy is just so much different.
It's like theatre.
Yes, you just can't replicate that.
Yep, because there's so much at stake.
And the adrenaline.
That's what used to freak me out about theatre when I did it as a kid. It was that I'm not going to get a second chance.
Yeah.
So there's a different energy to it. That's kind of, I've never done a show like that or radio, but that's what I can imagine it feels like.
And you fluff and you just make it up to get back to where you need to go in terms of your dialogue. I think the one thing I always carry with me, and I always tell whoever I interview, and they, you know, we tend to be hard on ourselves after an interview if something didn't go according to plan or you didn't say what you were hoping to say, and the moment's done, the interview's done, it was live, there's no retakes. I just remind them, because it's something I need to remind myself as well, is no one knows what you were planning to say.
Yes.
So it's okay that you didn't say it.
Yes.
Our viewers or the listeners of our shows, they don't know what we had planned. So when it doesn't go according to plan, that's also okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It didn't go according to your plan. Everyone else doesn't have a plan looking in. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. And then, so radio, also live.
Yes. Except the music. Imagine we had little performances there.
That would be so sick. If you had like, what's the band that play for Jimmy on late night? If you had those guys, they're so vibey. I'd love them like over here. That'd be such a vibe. So is that as stressful? Because radio, you've got 4 hours. So are you freaking out about like, what if the song I play people don't like?
So luckily for us, every radio station's different, but KFM, for example, we have a music compiler. So music is ranked, there are different rankings. So something would be considered a hot rotation or a new rotation, or there's different categories, and then the algorithm works out. So that's why you sometimes hear certain songs, you feel like you're hearing it a lot.
Yeah.
Because it's probably in the hot rotation, so it means it gets played every 4 hours.
And then you've got to, do you not pre-script? So I'm trying to think how I word this. So say now within your hour, right? So now there's 10 songs that you have to play. You have to hit a certain number of songs, I imagine, within that space.
Yeah, we have to, ideally you would love to hit a certain mark with how many songs you need to play in the hour, especially your big radio shows, so your breakfast show and your drive show, your afternoon drive show, because you tend to talk a lot more because you have a team around you. But at the end of the day, the listener is, for example, going to work or coming home from work, and they want music. If there's too much talking that time of the day, they'll change stations, and the idea is to keep them at your radio station.
Yeah.
So we have what we would call clocks. So you will hear, if you focus on when people talk, you'll notice, they keep talking at this time, they keep talking at this time, they keep talking at that time.
For that now. Yeah.
Every radio station has their different clock, but your big breakfast and drive shows, they tend to talk every 10 minutes. So you'll hear them at the top of the hour, 10 past, 20 past, half past, 22, 10 to.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've never paid attention to that.
Campus radio we used to do every 15 minutes. So you went quarter past, half past, quarter to on the hour. And
then you just watching for your turn to kind of get into that, into speaking. Is speaking thought of beforehand?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
So we'll have a blueprint for our show. We are not scripted, but we have a plan in place. So we do plan and map out our content. We do have features on the show, which is kind of like set in your show, and people are used to it. People love it. Carl is brilliant. I mean, he's so witty.
Cool.
We have the flash word every day at 5:15.
Yeah.
We have switch the hits at 6 every evening at 6 o'clock. But then, even though it's a standard feature, every day has a different theme to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I understand. I see. It's so technical. And then you've got to be so laid back in that space as well.
Well, it helps that I'm not pushing the buttons on our show, but when especially over the festive period, when I do stand-in shows and they give me the microphone all to myself, then I make a couple of mistakes with pushing the buttons or...
But again, no one would know.
You human first.
Yeah. My biggest question about radio, is there beef between radio stations?
I think healthy competition,
you guys
of course.
Like, what's up 5FM?
So in terms of...
I would be, hey? I'd be like, they think they're going to have like a better fucking hour of music, watch this, hey?
So I think, 5 will always be a big competitor because it's nationwide, but I think as a radio station from KFM's point, our biggest competitor are the people within the metro. So it would be your Good Hope FM, it would be your Heart FM, it would be your Smile, it would be KFM. That's our immediate competition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've got to win over market just like any other company would.
You want to dominate the market. And those are the same stations that's fighting for that same area. You kind of wouldn't put 5FM in that same bracket only because they've naturally got a larger footprint.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
And 5FM, are they Joburg?
They've got studios in Cape Town, Joburg. I'm pretty sure there must be some SABC studios in Durban.
Yeah.
I might be speaking under correction, but I think most of their presenters are probably Joburg based.
Yeah. And then yourself, and especially Carl, saw him at the Rugby Sevens, and he did the most phenomenal job of getting the whole stadium vibing. It was incredible, and they had the dancers coming out, but the way that he MCs and like runs the whole show was insane.
Yeah.
He hits every button so perfectly, every call so on point. With live performances and shows and appearances and stuff like that, is that done to move into a different kind of audience space, or is that done to win market? Because it works so well. You guys have such persona outside of radio. See what I'm so like? I know Carl Wasty and I know Zoe Brown as in, you know, KFM. But then if I see Carl Wasty at a live event, I'm like, oh, it's Carl Wasty. I don't go, oh, it's the KFM guy. Which is, that break is so difficult to get right.
I think our approach especially has been to always be yourself on air. So I suppose it's just maybe then easier because we're on so many different platforms. If you're always yourself, it will be consistent throughout. I don't think we, you know, when we go to radio, when we go to TV, or we go to an event, we think of, okay, who are we trying to reach here? I think, you know, every event or brand will have a goal or a purpose, but when we get to be true to ourselves, we still get that reach that they would want. Yeah.
We will be having Carl Wasty on this season as well.
You have to. He'll love it.
He's so sweet. He's been really cool with the message as well. Like, we wanted to have him in last season. I was saying to you earlier, we wanted to have him in last season and we just couldn't get it right. And he was so understanding, which is always so helpful when trying to get something like this going. And for when he comes on, I wanted to ask you and then I wanted to ask him.
Okay.
If you had to give Carl Wasty 3 words that describe him, what would your 3 words be?
He is witty. He is empathetic. And he is funny. Like, that is Carl in a very teeny tiny nutshell, because I almost feel like 3 words is not enough to describe him. But he is so quick thinking and so funny, and I mean, he studied psychology, so he's an empath, and it's so bizarre sometimes how he can feel my energy, because you're in a studio space, you're not far away from each other for 4 hours every single day, and we've been doing our show together for 5 years now. Where he can pick up, he's like, something's off, or how's your mom? And I'm like, oh, it's so weird that you ask.
Really?
Yeah.
That's really cool.
He creeps me out sometimes, but I was like, how did you know?
Yeah.
Can
That's
you
such a
smell
cool
it?
duo to
I'm
have.
joking.
Yeah. Who's giving you the inside information? That's so crazy. I'm so excited to do it with him, and we'll ask him his 3 words for you. I find like duos like this so fascinating, because that's what makes the show, right? Is the energy between the 2 of you. You've also ventured into your own brand as well.
Yes.
Into, can I call it fitness apparel? Is that the correct terminology?
It's gym wear. So I don't know. I felt the pressure, and I think it was external pressure that also came in. There's a lot of pressure to, you know, start your own brand, think of beyond the camera and the microphone, and there's just all this pressure of, you know, because it's a very volatile industry, the media in the space. I mean, they can turn around and be like, the show's done, or your contract's done. Cheers, bye.
Yeah.
Cancel culture is huge. You know, the one day you're something, the next day they're like, no one support that person. So I think for anyone, you always think of what's my backup plan, what's going to be my next step. I partnered with 2 incredible guys who have their own gym brand called Gym Nerd. So they helped me get my own pair of pants. It started off as a joke. It started off as let's see who can get into Zoe Brown's pants.
Very clever. I see what they did there.
That was Wasty.
Of course that was Wasty.
That was Wasty. And then we just kind of steamrolled from there, because I found out I was actually a bit particular about how I want my pants to fit. So it was a lot of back and forth with the pattern maker until I was very happy with the fit of the pants.
Yeah.
And I live in my gym pants. I live in my own brand pants. I went with plain, solid, beautiful colors.
Yeah.
If you go into the stores, you get soft colors, you get patterns, and I didn't find biker shorts in bright colors, and that's kind of what I did. So in a selfish way, I was catering to myself.
Which is all you can ask to do, right? If you see something missing.
I wanted the fun colors. Interestingly enough, the colors that sold first and the best were the dark colors, the blacks.
Really? Okay.
And you go to gym. For the longest time, I did home workouts, but then when I went back to the gym, I was like, people love black.
Yeah.
And then I'm there in my bright purple or my orange, my papaya or my teal.
That's cool though.
But yeah, I love color. That's me. And I love the fit of the pants. And it's nice to have my name on something that says made in Cape Town, which for me is quite
that's
special.
really cool. It was also because we first indirectly met you through Ryan Buerta at Rider Fitness. Got it in.
Brilliant trainer.
Yeah. Jeez, I had to lose weight for a role, and he was like, "Here you go." And I was like, "Oh, this isn't fun," and it worked like a charm. And you were there every single day, all the time. You showed up every single day for training.
Yeah, it was difficult.
Yeah, and knowing your schedule now, I'm like,
yeah.
how?
Because I mean, we're a live breakfast show on Expresso, so we're 6 to 9 a.m. At the time when we were gymming together, I was doing radio and TV, 5 days a week, both platforms. And then 3 nights a week, I would go and train at Ryan's gym from 7:30 to 8:30.
Yes,
Yeah, it wasn't easy. It came at the price I paid for that type of ambition came at the cost of having much of a personal life, having personal relationships romantically, and seeing my family. So I did make changes. I did step away from Expresso for a year.
Okay.
And then when I went back to the show, I asked them, I said, I can only come back if I can maintain a freelance status where I don't work 5 days a week.
Yeah.
Because it's just, otherwise, I'm back to where I was before I left.
Yeah. And with all the crazy hours and the different ventures that you're involved in, do you feel like you found a better balance now?
Much better.
Yeah.
Much better. It also helps that I'm dating a very incredible guy who is super ambitious.
Cool.
Typical A-type. Like spreadsheets before we moved in together. I got an Excel spreadsheet. Very goal orientated. It was so sweet. So New Year, he whipped out a sketch pad and we set individual goals. We set couple goals and we set house goals, like things we want to do in and around the house.
That's cool.
So it was quite cool. And every other Tuesday night, he'll be like, tonight's goals night, where we after dinner put all the things away and we bring out the sketch pad and we're like, okay, how far are you with this? What do you want to do next? So to break it down, my one goal was to organize my garage because, you just put boxes in and you just put boxes in. And
everybody listening is like, oh yeah, I wrote that down 3 years ago. Yeah.
So he was like, so when are you doing the garage? And I was like, okay, well, I'll need help. So he's like, well, what help will you need? And I was like, well, I can't put the shelves up myself in one day. So he was like, so you'll need to get someone to come do the shelving.
Yeah.
So he's like, when can you book someone to? So he helped me break down the goal I had into getting someone to come help me put up shelves, sorting through the boxes and getting it into containers and labeling the containers and putting it on the new shelves we've put in. And now my garage is squeaky clean. I know where to find everything.
Can you rent him out to help with stuff? We need to put this in place at our place. Because I'm so bad at this and I've picked up that I do it. I'll say I'm going to do something with all the intention of doing it. And once I've said it, I have this guilt of having to fulfill what I've said because I don't like, not being there for things that I've said. And then it lingers and lingers and lingers and lingers and you look again, there's 7 different things to do.
Yeah.
All around the house.
Yeah.
Shelving, towel racks. I broke our towel rack the other day because I break things and it's just
Yeah.
There's so much to do. So
And
I
it's
need to ask advice on that.
And it's just horrible when these things hang over your head. So, yeah, if you can get someone in, because sometimes it's just easier to tackle these things with another person.
Yeah.
So whether it is a best friend or, you know, someone that is good with the big tools and putting
there
up
you
the
go,
shelves, or it just helps having that extra set of hands to motivate you to do something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm in. We're going to do this. We're going to spreadsheet our life. I'm ready for it. We're going to Excel spreadsheet. I can't make the spreadsheets, but but I can contribute. That's so sick.
But I mean, it sounds so silly, but it's been so amazing because, you know, so often as a couple you say, oh, we want to learn how to cook. We need to go to a cooking class.
Yes.
And then you never get around to it because life's busy.
Yeah.
But because we constantly check in on our goals, we're like, so it's always top of mind. We're like, you know, Valentine's Day is coming up. I saw that Chef Studio is doing this cooking class the Thursday. Let's do a belated Valentine's Day and then we tick a box.
Do that.
And we did the coolest
That's
cooking
clever.
class where the theme was Paris, and it was a 4-course meal of which when you arrive, you get a glass of bubbles. You sit down, they give you your entree, so that's like the first course, and then you get a chef's demonstration on how to cook the second course, then you go and cook it.
Oh, that's cool.
Afterwards, we ate it, then you went back to the chef's demonstration, you saw how they cooked the main, you went and cooked it, sat down and ate, and then they served dessert, and it was just such a nice evening.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I'm down for that. We need to do that.
We drank
Bailey's
lots of
coming too.
wine. Don't even bother ordering a glass. Go straight for a bottle because in between the cooking you want to drink.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm going to leave hammered.
Yeah.
100% I'm leaving hammered. It's going to happen. I'm leaving hammered.
Don't even
for
waste
this.
your money by just ordering a glass thinking, oh, we'll just
Get
do
the
2
bottle.
glasses. Just get the bottle.
Bring the case. Let's go. Zoe, thank you so much for coming in. This has been so insightful into radio and TV in your life. I'm excited to see what you do next.
Thank you for
I'm
having me.
excited to have Wasty in and hear his opinion on things. It's going to be fascinating. But everything you're doing is incredible. It's very admirable. So thank you for stepping forward and putting in those hard years of graft and now being one of the faces of radio for South Africa. That's really cool.
I don't know if I can accept that
You
title,
can. You can.
it's
We'll
very
take
kind
it.
of
We said
you.
it here. It's in.
Thank you.
There we go. Thank you so much. It's been amazing. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you.